Hello, welcome back. I'm Tonya from Tonya's Witchy Kitchen, and how are you doing today? No, this is not an episode of Tea Time. No, this is not an episode of Life with Spice. This is just oh my gosh, I gotta show you this. Oh my gosh, I gotta tell you this. Oh my gosh, we're going to do this. I want to tell you about this conspiracy that's not a conspiracy, but I feel like we're just being lied to. Okay, we're being lied to. Okay, so you know how you go into the fridge to get a carton of milk and you come out and you pour it and you want to gag because it's chunky and you're pissed off because you just bought it, right? Or you buy cream for a special reason. You're making dumplings and sauerkraut, or you're making homemade whipped cream. All the things with cream. And you open it, you use a little bit of it, like a cup, and you have some left, and the next time you go to use it, it stinks. And it's ultra pasteurized. I hate ultra pasteurized. I'll tell you right there. It doesn't last any longer than the regular pasteurized. But it's really hard to find the regular pasteurized. So, our state passed the law that you can now purchase raw milk from farmers. Okay, I'm actually shocked they did. I'm glad they did. I'm just shocked. Before if you bought it, you had to say it was for your cat or something. Seriously. But we are able to sell it, and if you all think you're gonna get a milk cow and make all this money, have fun. You go do that. Although it's not to dissuade you. It's not a bad idea making sure you have enough feed and having the ability to milk it twice a day. I think goats might be a little easier. I think they milk it once a day, which might be an easier thing to do. But yeah, I've known quite a few people who milked cows, and none of them milk cows anymore. But anyway, so I've been purchasing milk and cream from a very good friend of mine. And you've seen the cream, right? Isn't that video with the chocolate, the crazy chocolate? Oh my gosh, that stuff is so good. But yeah, it's beautiful cream. It's thick cream. It's gorgeous. Okay, raw cream. I have had some in a jar in my fridge for I don't know how long. And the only thing with raw products is they sour. They don't go bad, they sour. So if you end up with sour milk from raw, you make pancakes. Because my original recipe from my mom and my grandma's banana bread recipe all call for soured milk. And what do? You add the tablespoon of vinegar to it to make it soured and let it set for 5 minutes and mix it up, but you don't have to do that when you actually have raw milk. If it's soured, you just leave it in the fridge till you use it and make pancakes or biscuits or whatever. And I've been researching. I'm supposed to be researching other things, right? Like I'm supposed to be doing Life with Spice here, and my research time it's either am I doing serums or am I everything's on the back burner. But I just wanted to do the butter thing with you because there's so much to show you. But anyway, back to this whole pasteurization thing and raw cream. Why do we have to pasteurize it? I mean, if people are using good hygienic practices when milking their cows, you have nothing to worry about. And nobody wants to get anybody sick. They don't want their family sick, I mean, my mom's family milked cows for years. As a kid, I watched what they did before they started milking the cows. I mean, you would wash the cow. You'd wash the cow. And I didn't wash the cows. I just watched. But yeah, it's a process. It's a huge process. And that's one thing that does worry me about people just up and getting a cow and thinking that, okay, yeah, I'm going to sell this to everybody. It's a process research it if you're gonna do it. You know, my daughter would love to have a cow, and I'm just like, I don't want a cow. I got too many critters. I don't want a cow. We have goats. Let's just milk the goats. Yeah, but I think it's a conspiracy, and I think it's something that's bad for them to tell us. But the butter is super interesting because they feel it was discovered 8,000 years ago, where the nomads would put their milk, skin filled with milk, okay, and they'd put it on the critter's back, usually a sheep, goat. What was the third one? Because cows were later. These were like, okay, and they'd walk across the country wherever they were going, and eventually they realized that all that activity created butter. They didn't call it butter, but it created this yummy, yummy substance. And then this is in Africa, and then people in Africa decided that they would hang it from a tree and basically jostle it, you know, like one of those, I think of a really strong but thin, you know, tree limb that you could like walk by and just give it a jerk, and it'll do its own thing for a while. And they still make butter that way over there. So that is what we're going to do today. We are making butter from raw cream. I want to show you the process. It's messy as hell, but my daughter actually came up with the last technique on how to wash butter, because you have to wash the butter. It's such a crazy thing. But yeah, so 3 things. Dream big, be true to you. You are worth it. And the first part of this segment is let's go make some butter. Okay. I actually have the house to myself for an hour or so, amazingly. And so this is my cream. Like, seriously, that does not look like cream you get from the store, does it? No. And yes, you could eat this with a spoon. Lord knows I've done it. Put it in my coffee. Put it in just about anything. The thing I find most fascinating is that it doesn't smell cowy. Yes, that's a word. Because I had a friend who milked when I was in high school, and I could not stand their milk because it smelled really, really cowy. And the milk we get now does not smell cowy. So I kind of think, you know, maybe it depends on where they just, I think they were just milking for themselves. I really don't know if they milked for production, you know, but, and, you know, I suppose it depends. Where did they store it and all this stuff? Okay, so we're just going to take the top half of this jar. I don't like to do too much at a time because otherwise, like I said, it makes a hellacious mess. And you're like, how can it make a mess? Oh, it does. It does. If nobody's warned you about this, you know, one thing, you can make this. You can go to the store and buy cream and make your own butter. Okay? The difference is you're going to be, depending on what you pay for your cream, if you pay, you know, it used to be $8 for a quart or half a quart, you know, well, some of that's going to turn into buttermilk and some of that's going to turn into your butter, you know, so you're not going to get a quart of butter, okay? It comes out short. But anyway, the first thing is to whip it on a medium-high speed. If you're purchasing the heavy whipping cream from the store, it's going to take a lot longer to make it separate than it is if it's raw cream from a farmer. But don't give up. You got to get to the buttermilk stage, because I almost quit too early. But you got to get to where you have and you're seeing buttermilk. Okay, I just want to say something. Do you see the texture of it now? It looks really, really, look what I can do. Chunky. Okay? So at this point, you really kind of want to pay attention, because it's going to go from solid to separated. Also note, heavy cream produces the most butter than just a regular whipping cream would produce. So if you're going to buy it, just be careful so you get the most bang for your buck. Now, I've seen on YouTube, or not YouTube, but some blogs, this is where they stop. They tell you to stop once it's a ball so you can wash it. No, don't stop here. It's not butter yet. Another question is salting the butter. Do you want to salt it or not? If you want to salt it like store-bought, it's 1/4 teaspoon to every 4 ounces of homemade butter. Also, store-bought butter is 80% butter fat, 16 to 18% water, and 2 to 4% of other components such as milk solids or salt. If it's less than 80% butter fat, it is considered a spread. Okay, I'll stop it there. Do you see the liquid forming? That's the buttermilk. I don't know why they call it buttermilk. It should be called butterless milk. But anyway, this is where it gets super messy. So, purchased butter has a strictly controlled 18% water content. Homemade butter, through the testing on KingArthurBaking.com, said his was roughly 12% across the board, depending on how thorough the separation process went. Okay. So what I do is I get to this point where I have, it's starting to make buttermilk, right? I'll show you. Okay. It looks a little weird. I know. It's nothing like you get in the store. Hang on to that thing. Okay, and so what I do is I pour it off at this point. And there's going to be some butter chunks in there, but I don't care. I usually strain it. But that gets me rid of some of the liquid that's come out like right off the bat. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? Because you need to beat it a little bit, and you know, why would I want to sit here and, like, you can put a towel over your mixer, you know, so it doesn't, it will shoot that buttermilk all over. And you can use a hand mixer. It's just going to take a little bit, okay? If you want to do some really cool reading, go to butterjournal.com. Text about how the Romans refused to eat it. However, they used it as a medicinal product for coughs, aching joints, and wounds. I bet they licked it off their wounds. They didn't eat it because their enemies did. It's not going to cooperate as easily, but I like to split it apart, so just to try and get all the buttermilk out of there. In India, they offered ghee, which is clarified butter, to King Krishna for like 3,000 years. Did he actually live that long? I didn't research anything on that. Sorry. And in the Bible, Abraham and Sarah offered 3 visiting angels a feast of meat, milk, and creamy yellow spread. How did they know it wasn't mustard? Whoops. I'm just going to strain this back into here. There's not a lot, but it does save me from having to clean my kitchen. Okay. Next step is wash your butter. I can thank my daughter for this step. Because she's a busy mom, you know, and when you wash it with your hands and strain it through this cloth and blah, 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 or use a strainer, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's messy. I mean, unless it's a great way to ingest about a half a pound of butter if you're doing a whole gallon of cream, because you get to lick your hands in between batches. But what she told me was that she cheated. And so what I do to wash my butter is I add about a cup of water, cold water, and then I'm going to put it on low, and I'm just going to let it go for a little bit. Butter was the fat choice for tribes of Northern Europe, so much so that some Greeks referred to them as barbaric butter eaters. Understand, though, that the climate in the Mediterranean was not really accommodating to storing butter all year long, and so they used the olive oils and other oils that they had available. The only thing here is I will break it away from the beater a couple times. In Norway, the king demanded a full bucket of butter every year as a tax from his people. In the Middle Ages, peasants ate it as a cheap nourishment, and nobility ate it for the richness it added to their cooked meals. 1 month per year, until the 1600s, it was banned during Lent. No butter. Oh my gosh, no butter. I thought coffee would be bad. Whew, no butter. See the liquid? So remember, that's not buttermilk now. It's the butter being washed. Like that. Yep. So we have to wash it again until the water's clear. And that just goes down the drain. And it's much softer than it was originally. My daughter also was comparing how it melted compared to regular store-bought butter. And she said the raw milk butter, or raw cream butter, takes twice, or the store-bought butter takes twice as long to melt if it's frozen than this does, than the unpasteurized raw cream butter. So another cup. The people found it very hard to cook without a fat, and oils weren't always available. The wealthy started to pay the church for permission to eat the butter during the month that they were supposed to self-deny. The demand for this was so high that in Rouen, France, the cathedral's butter tower was financed this way. Now, if you want salted butter, you want to add it either here, but then you might want to add a little bit more because of the water, or after you're done, you can whip it one more time and add your salt. Today in Ireland, barrels of ancient Irish butter that were buried in bogs for aging are the most common archaeological finds. My grandson would have a cow if he found a big thing of butter instead of like a dinosaur bone. That one went splash happy. And just to show you, I've done this quite a few times, and I've measured, and I normally get the same amount of liquid I put in or a little bit more. I never end up with less. And he was still kind of cloudy, but it wasn't too bad. I usually just do it twice. That's kind of where I've gotten to with my familiarity with this. And then I do one more beating. I don't know, just because. Make sure I get all the water out. In the 19th century, Emperor Napoleon III offered a large prize to anyone who could manufacture a substitute for butter. In 1869, a French chemist won it. He made a rendered beef fat, which is tallow, flavored with milk. He called it oleomargarine, and later margarine, but that is not the margarine we have today. Coming to America, pilgrims packed several barrels onto the Mayflower, And the next 3 centuries, butter was a staple of the traditional American farm. At the turn of the 20th century, Americans' consumption was 18 pounds per capita annually, which is 1.5 sticks per person per week, which isn't actually a lot when I think about how much I eat, but okay. That's neither here nor there. The Great Depression and World War II changed many things. There were shortages, rationing, and margarine was no longer the original margarine. It was vegetable oil and yellow food coloring like it is today. In the 1980s, the USDA started promoting a low-fat diet, and butter was given the thumbs down, and it dropped to 4.1 pounds per capita. Researchers have discovered that margarine, quote unquote, ingredients are worse for heart health than those of the natural saturated fats that butter contain. Ooh! This counter is small. Let's take a glass bowl with some wax paper. I don't get particular, sorry. And, I mean, look at that butter, you guys. It is, you can't believe, I can't even show you how creamy it is. Like, I have buttered toast in the morning. I put butter in my tea. I put butter in my coffee. And then I put cream in my coffee. I should be 300 pounds by now. So this will go in the fridge and just harden up. And then I will actually freeze it if I don't need it. My dog thinks I'm making something for her. And if you don't think you got all the water out, you can take it and run it under cold water and just squeeze it and then let it strain in a strainer. But I don't have any luck with that except for eating the butter off my fingers. Seriously. Now, the buttermilk can be used just like regular buttermilk. I usually freeze it, but I think I'm making pancakes tonight, so that's going on the pancakes. Yep. I wasn't kidding when I said I was going to make pancakes for supper. I will give you the recipe and link it down below. It's super simple, like really basic. But I thought I'd give you some information on buttermilk. Things you can do with buttermilk is soak chicken in it 6 hours to overnight. That you always hear about buttermilk chicken. Waffles, French toast, pancakes, biscuits, desserts. Make your own salad dressing. Feed it to your animals. You can drink it. It's actually easier to digest than a lot of other dairy products. It supports strong bones, oral health, actually helps lower cholesterol and lower blood pressure. That's probably why my grandpa's 98 and he's never been on cholesterol pills and he's never been on high blood pressure pills, ever, because they milked. So for many years, I really believe that's what it is. But anyway, it's high in protein and calcium, has sodium, potassium, lots of vitamins, but B12 and phosphorus. It can prevent dehydration, it's good for your immunity, good for your skin, and good for gut health. It's actually considered a fermented or cultured product. You can let the cream sour for 8 hours prior to making your butter. And that's how you get it to be considered cultured. Mine sits in my fridge for so long that it's practically there. You can actually use it for a cosmetic. People swear by it for face washes and supposedly a conditioner for your hair. But I wouldn't want my hair smelling sour, so I'm thinking that you would probably have to rinse it out really well. Like maybe let it sit there for a while and then rinse it out. Just a little weird, don't you think? But look at my pancakes. Ooh, golden brown. I love them with lots of butter and choke cherry jelly. And there's my little video on how to make butter. I hope you had a good time. Thank you for dropping by. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.